Hey there, Restorers. Thanks for checking out a fresh episode of the Restoration Happy Hour with Phil and Michelle. It's been a long time since we rolled one of these out, and they are meant to be fun and laid back conversations. I think Phil and I have both gotten good feedback about these podcasts, that they are different and they are meant to have kind of authentic conversations with some of the best in the industry. They're really fun to record. So I'm going to toss it over to my co-host, Phil, to get this rolling and introduce our guest for this episode. I'm very excited to have our guest here as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Excited to be here this morning. Hey, by the way, just as a real quick overview, when we started this, it was built on the premise that at a lot of trade shows, some of the best conversations happen after the sessions, just sitting around the bar having a casual conversation about family, about business, about insurance agents and adjusters and coworkers, everything else. And so given that, I gave you the idea, hey, let's something together. And so we started this great podcast quite some time ago. So I'm pretty excited about it. Happy to have Ben Looper here with Southeast Restoration Group. Ben, before we jump into this, I'd really just love a bit of an overview. Tell us about your background, give us some perspective, or get the people listening some perspective on your business and just kind of where you came from, and let's start with that.
Thanks, Phil. It's great to be with two friends. I'm excited about spending some time with you and in this podcast. So I appreciate y'all inviting me to be on. I was fortunate enough to fall into the construction industry early on, as my best friend's dad was in the construction industry, and others around me were doing in different aspects of construction. And then in college, I was fortunate enough to have a friend that had gotten into the restoration industry. So in 1994, I joined him, and then in 1999, I was fortunate enough to start Southeast Restoration. So we'll be celebrating 25 years next year, from the beginning to where we are now, which is 10 locations servicing 8 different markets throughout the Southeast, mainly Georgia and Tennessee, and then a little over into Alabama and South Carolina. So the southeastern market here of the United States. And it's just exciting to think about the growth and to be with y'all to share a little bit more about our history.
I love it. So 25 years ago, was this your vision to be this big? Did you know that this is where you were going to go, or are you here now and you're like, wow?
It was not. I always had a growth mentality and wanted to grow and obviously grow the size of the business. I didn't think this was possible. I'm a big Augusta National and Masters fan, and one of our Georgia boys, Bubba Watson, said when he won his first Masters that he never got this far in his dream. So I can honestly say, back in 1999, I don't think I ever got this far in my dreams. But it's exciting to be here, and a lot of hard work paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit and had some questions we were going to go through, but I really want to throw a curveball at you here because, that typically happens around the bar on a Friday night anyhow. We almost lost you. You almost didn't become a restorer. And there was a little county line or city line problem, and it prevented you from following what may have been your first choice in the direction you were thinking about heading. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about there. And I don't know if you want to share that story, because I think it was kind of clever, and it would have been probably unfortunate for the industry had things turned out a little bit differently.
So Phil,
can we go there?
You throw me a curveball because I have no idea which direction you're going, where you're going with it. So continue to give me a little
political. You were about to become the mayor of a city, and then right when you moved, right before then, you were kind of the chosen candidate to become the next. I believe it was a political aspiration. You were moving a certain direction, and then you bought a new house.
Well, yeah. To clear that up, I was inside of our city limits, and others had aspirations of me taking that seat. And in that particular time, I never had any political aspirations necessarily. I want to do the right thing for the community. I love the community we're in. I want to do the right thing for the community, but it wasn't the right time, and I didn't want to take away from what we had started at Southeast, and so fortunately put that on the back burner and never looked back. So, and with everything in the way politics have gone, I'm certainly glad I did.
So no Senator Looper going. So I got it. That's good. I think
Nope.
you're in a good spot for your family, your business, your community. So
I care too much for
so-
my wife, and I put him through that.
yeah. So we worked together a very, very long time ago. And one of the things I found quite remarkable about your company, I mean, there's a number of things that were quite remarkable, but I think it goes to this this culture, the Southeast Restoration Group culture that you had built. And it was built off of a number of foundational principles. But one of the things I found pretty remarkable, and something I hadn't seen before. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm coming from the West Coast, so this is smack dab in the middle of the night for me. But you invited me to jump out to a morning meeting, and you had a men's group that had a prayer meeting just down the street. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, there was a couple hundred people in an auditorium, and it was a kind of a big event. And I think you had 18 men in your company, and at that time, so this is the transition you've had. You were just a young company at the time, and at the time you had 17 or 18. You had those one or two people missing out of your company, and I think you told me, you said, "Gosh, Phil, you know what? The other two, they would have been there too, but they had something going on." And so one of the things I find that kind of the core of the culture of your business, and how did this impact your growth? How did this impact the development of your company as well as your company culture?
I appreciate you sharing that and bringing that back up and reminding me of it. It's been a long time since I've thought about it, but we have been very fortunate. Faith is a big part of our business and our foundation here at Southeast Restoration. And that particular men's group was a men's fraternity group that we were able to invite. It was their choice, but we were able to invite the men of our organization at the time to join us in this Friday morning's Bible study. And we were just very fortunate. We started off with a really solid core group, and then several weeks into that particular study that was being talked about so much that the guys that weren't attending decided they were missing out and they wanted to attend. And so we had almost 100% attendance in that, and honestly have been very fortunate throughout the years and even in our other locations to have similar types of things. But we really focus on the team member as a whole, and I think that's what separates us and our culture from particular maybe some companies that don't have that availability or the opportunity as larger organizations to focus on them independently. And for Southeast, it's been a struggle as we've become larger to keep that small office feel and to put that kind of emphasis on each of the team members, but it continues to be a focus here.
Mm-hmm. So how have you kind of related to the fact that you are an independent business? You have so far managed to stay out of the M&A activity, but that we could not have a conversation without bringing that up because it's such a huge part of the industry. How have you managed to stay independent, and kind of what are those internal conversations you have with yourself? I know there are other restorers like you that think, gosh, I'm kind of feel out on an island as everybody's consolidating as you stay independent. That has to be an interesting spot to be in. So kind of what are your feelings related to the M&A market and the pressure or resistance, whatever it may be?
Well, I wondered how long it was going to take us to get here, and it was the second question, not the first question, but the second question. Thanks, Michelle. It's not easy. We have a lot of opportunity, in front of us, and certainly have been courted. I've got a lot of my best friends that are really close friends, people that y'all know well, that have been in the industry a long time, that have chosen that path because it was the best thing for them and their family. And we have just not gone down that path. I've got a couple of children that are interested in the business, that are working inside the business. I feel like it's a legacy business. People think I'm crazy, but it's not a money thing. For me, I'm fortunate. I kind of eat what I want to, and drive what I want to, and live like I want to, and have and appreciate being able to do that for our team members as well. And so I won't ever say never, but it's just not on the radar currently at this time. And we really focus on what we're doing here with our growth at Southeast Restoration, I think all those things will take care of themselves. I don't fault anybody, that has done it, because there's a lot of great success stories, and some of these larger conglomerates that are doing a lot of these acquisitions are doing really great things, and honestly makes it tougher for the independents. But we've just been fortunate with what we've been able to do with our culture, our results, and growing the organization as we have. So we're hanging in there as an independent. There's plenty more independents out there, but I think it's good for the industry to have both sides out there.
Mhm.
I agree with that. That's a great point. There's a couple of things I want to leverage off of. Just we'll take a little bit of trips down historical lane as we mix in some new stuff kind of coming at you as well. But one of the things I found remarkable, and it was a first that I had in my consulting, so when we sit down with companies, we interview the employees, and then at the end of it, we come and we do a strategic plan. We sit down and say, okay, here's where we see your business going, and here's some of the challenges you're having and getting from here to there. So it's basically delivering the strategic plan. And the first that I had experienced when I came to your company is I came in, you had a really large boardroom. It was not a boardroom, it was just a large meeting room. And every single one of your employees showed up for that meeting, which was really remarkable. And it was remarkable just because it was that collaborative team environment. And so I'm going to contrast that, because that was part of the foundation of where you grew to where you are today. And how do you maintain that involvement as you grow to, what'd you say, you said 12 locations? So as you grow to these multiple locations, how do you attain that kind of that openness and let's say family and team involvement?
Yeah, we've got 10 locations in 8 different markets, and it's difficult, Phil, as we've grown. Fortunately, we have some virtual opportunities like we are having here to be able to connect everybody that we didn't have even back then. But we've got the opportunity to connect everybody and do that. The openness has always been something that we've prided ourselves on here at Southeast Restoration. I pride myself in trying to be the dumbest guy in the room and surrounding myself with other smart people, and feel like together we can make better decisions than me trying to make them by myself. So, putting the information out in front of the team, having them build the plan, so it's their plan, not my plan that they're trying to attack. And when it becomes their plan, there's a lot more buy-in, and there's a lot better chance of it being accepted and successful. Mm-hmm. So we've continued to, as we're going into a budget season now for next year and strategic planning for the next year, we get as much input as possible. We're up to creeping up on 275 team members now, so there's a lot of education and a lot of training, but we've got a lot of really talented people that we love to get feedback from, because I can make decisions from sitting behind the desk here and behind the computer and think it's the best thing, but we like to get the voices of those that are out there on the front line and doing all the difficult work to make sure we're making the right decisions as we move forward.
So as your team has gotten that big, what would you attribute, like, what do you think is the number one draw for people coming into the company? And then what's the number one thing that's helping you retain the people and the top talent that you have? The number one thing keeping them there?
I think it's one and the same, and that's the culture that we've been fortunate enough to build. We have what we call the GOAT culture. I've got a metal goat over here that's got our logo of GOAT culture. So we think it's the greatest of all time, not only in the industry, but we really put a lot of focus on our team members. And part of our vision statement says we aspire to bring happiness to our team members and their families. So the families are just as important. When the families aren't happy, then the team members aren't going to be happy either. So we put a lot of emphasis and do a lot of extra things with the team members and their families as well. And from the time they're young and small, bringing them into the office and having make it fun days where we go out, or serve days where we go out and really get involved in the community. We try to involve those team members and their families to go out and be part of that. And so they're bought into the organization as well.
So I'm gonna stick on the family business, at least the family discussion, because I think it's very relevant. You're going through that challenge where your kids are now old enough to participate in the business, and I grew up, not grew up, but I was in a family business, and there's always that stigma and challenge of being the boss's son. And how do you make sure that you keep your children grounded, and also make sure that they're participating at a serious business level, as opposed to being brought there by family connections? And so how do you transition that, and how do you make sure that they stand on their own in the business?
Yeah, you've seen a lot of that and been a part of a lot of that, Phil, and it's not easy. So we're fortunate enough, we decided early on that if the kids were interested in the business, we wanted them to go out and work elsewhere. And so my oldest daughter, Kennedy, did that and graduated from college and went to work for the world champion Atlanta Braves, who we hope to be the world champions again this year. They're doing pretty well. But she went and worked for them for a couple of years, and then we were fortunate to bring her back into the organization as a marketing coordinator, where she's at now, which was the same work a lot of the same work she was doing with the Braves organization. Our son Holden got 1 year. He's in his final year of getting a construction management degree in college, and he has been around the business and in the business really since the middle school years, and has really loved all aspects of the business. And we kind of knew, it was in him and wanted to be there, but he's actually had the opportunity to go work and serve at Chick-fil-A's corporate office in Atlanta here, and do some work in their facilities group, and got to experience some really cool things in an internship. So as well as at the store level. And then my youngest daughter is a senior in high school, and she's graduating, and she has committed that she don't want anything to do with the family business. And so she may be the only one here when it's all said and done. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right.
We want them to have their own space. To answer the second part of your question, it's not easy, but we've had long drawn out discussions that they have to stand on their own 2 feet. They obviously report to different departments and different areas in the organization, and not to me. And so they have their own KPIs. But I'm very, very blessed. They both have really strong work ethics, and the product that they've been able to do and produce, and really having that young talent in, they're doing some things that the team was not doing without them. So bringing some different dynamics to the team. And but they have to work, because of their last name, they got to work twice as hard to get the same level of respect, and they are doing just that. So I'm very, very grateful.
Awesome. Phil,
Can you? Yeah.
Keep going.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I just have just another question about your role and how your role has evolved, and what, so as your company grew into multiple locations, and you used to be real hands-on and kind of evolved in day-to-day operations. What is your role as the CEO of a multi-location restoration company look like, and how do you spend your time, and kind of what are your key? If you were to say maybe your top 3 purposes or functions as the CEO of this company.
Yeah, I kind of miss not having my hands in the middle of some of the operations sometimes, but my role has evolved and changed, and I'm grateful for that. Most days anyway, I'm grateful for that. But I have the pleasure of going out, and I am the CEO, but they refer to me as the Chief Encouragement Officer of our organization. So I have the opportunity to go spend time in our locations and really spend time encouraging the team members, and helping them in areas, that, and communicating, some of our vision that we have, which is the other aspect of my role, is being able to see around the corner and, predict and, make plans for things 18, 24, 36 months out, and start putting the pieces in place to make sure that we're continuing to move, staying up to date on technology, all the things that are critical today in our industry that will help, and being involved in things like the RIA and the industry as a whole to be able to continue to grow it.
So how long have you been involved in the RIA, and what kind of value have you found from being involved in organizations like that, or maybe you're involved in the MSPCA? There's a lot of different organizations out there within the industry. So what value have you found in those over the years?
So we have been a member of the RIA. I would guess going on 20 years. I don't know what the number is. I really did not get involved until probably the last 5 to 7 years. I've been able to serve on the board and the executive committee, and then fortunate enough to be asked to be the president-elect. That'll take place next April and take over that seat in April from Katie Smith, who's doing a phenomenal job in what she's doing in growing the RIA organization. So I'm just blessed and thankful, to have a voice and to have that opportunity to a lot of these people that I've, been close to over the years and across the country in our industry and the contractors to be able to have a voice that's really getting heard. And, we're doing some really neat things out there to where we're moving the needle, maybe more so than we ever have from an industry standpoint. If you were at our last year's conference, it was great, but this year in 2024 coming up in April, it's going to be in Dallas, and it's already the numbers are already out there, and it's going to be a record-setting event. So we're excited about where we're moving and how we're trending. And I think the people with things like the AGA have seen that we are now getting people's attention and have the voice to really move things in a positive direction for the contractors.
Yeah.
Wow. Given statistics like that, here's my time in the industry advice for anybody listening to this. Get your hotel room early if you want to stay at the host location. Else you'll be staying down the street. So
Yes, not fun.
I'm going to go back a little bit into some strategy stuff in your business. And so early on, you've got a great relationship with some of the TPAs, and that was a core element in you growing your business. I know in your first multi-locations, your expansion, some of the locations you're going to, was driven a lot by, hey, we can go here and we can have some built-in work because we're already relevant to these companies. But how is your, let's say, involvement and connection to those TPAs changed over the years, or has it changed? And I think there's this challenge between TPA and direct referral work and commercial and everything else. And so, give us just kind of a high level look at that in your business and your strategy.
Yeah, we had an opportunity early on. I think the TPA networks were new and small, and we were doing some really good things and had the opportunity to kind of join forces and grow together. I give the TPAs credits for where we've been able to go as an organization, and hopefully we've been able to help them and grow their organizations. I appreciate everything that they do for the industry, but at the same time, we're growing our business just like everybody else in different ways, and so things have changed obviously as time has gone on. More carriers have come on board, either on the TPAs or off the TPAs. More contractors have joined forces and been able to service the TPAs. The pieces of the pie get a little smaller in the different markets, but the people, it gives the opportunity for potentially some of the independents or some of the larger network contractors that are growing their businesses to have that foundational work, the day-to-day work that keeps their teams busy while they go out and try to grow into other markets. So, my role has obviously changed in our organization, and then with the TPAs, I've been fortunate enough to sit on, some of their leadership panels and, with some of their executives and help make and be a voice for the contractor and help make some decisions that have moved the industry in the right direction. I know there's been lots of frustrations on both sides. And so, just trying to figure out what the next best steps for the contractors and the TPAs are, so we can all, get to the end solution that we want to get to, which is servicing, the customers, quicker and better out there at the same time with the contractors being able to be profitable.
So another area that's really changed is technology, right? And that also has to do with servicing the customers and all that you just talked about. So I'm curious how you've kept up with technology or how you even select what's right for your company. I mean, every trade show we go to now, there's a new piece of technology on the show floor, and it's kind of hard to figure out what the best is for your company, and everything works different. Some softwares are better for some companies and they're better for others. And there's just a lot of options out there. So how do you kind of see through the weeds and determine what's best for SRG?
Yeah, Michelle, it's gotten harder and harder, and fortunately, I'm surrounded by some really smart people in our organization that that know and do a better job at that than I do, and that are got some inside track. And you know, we have always, from the beginning, taken some chances and invested some capital into technology and done some things. And to be honest, they haven't all paid off. But a lot of them have put us in places and given us the opportunity to be out in front of a lot of what's going on and been able to service these customers better. When we started doing this, we literally had map books and pagers and no cell phones. So that seems like 100 years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But things have changed, and you got one device that can do anything these days. And in today's society of instant gratification, and TV shows that can redo a whole house in 30 minutes, it makes it difficult. But we have the opportunity to stay ahead of the curve with some of the great technology that's out there. And I'm grateful for some of these technology companies that have come into the industry and really focused on how to service the contractor and as well as the carrier and the homeowners to make it a smoother transition.
I'm looking forward to the Clean My Wall app for my phone. There we go. Done.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your industry leadership and just it's your thoughts on. We'll combine do a two question here. Your top three, or just give me one or two, whatever, opportunities and challenges for the restoration industry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the top challenges right now are pricing and people. Those two things are both holding, I believe, the industry and the contractors back from being able to move faster and do things quicker. So I know we're doing a lot of great work with all the pricing vendors, and I appreciate everything that they're doing to listen and make the changes necessary. Obviously we hope it could be even quicker, but they're doing a great job listening, and we appreciate what they're doing. But we've got to stay on top of that to make sure that the contractors are profitable. Otherwise, they'll go find other things to be profitable in. And we know that this industry is necessary, and it takes it. And then from a people standpoint, not only internally but externally. I was just talking to somebody today that there's just not the level of skills tradesmen coming up in the next generations, and I think we need to focus on continuing to make sure we are educating and creating tradesmen that'll take care of these specific needs that our industry will hold. So people and pricing are the two biggest challenges. I think the opportunities that we have as an industry is growth inside and a voice. We mentioned the RIA, but the growth of that organization and having a voice from the contractors is a big deal, to go back to the TPAs and the carriers and those that we work with to be able to make the positive changes that are going to be necessary for the future of the industry, as well as education, continuing to educate everybody inside the industry and outside the industry on the importance of why we do what we do. And then we just talked about technology, making sure that we stay on top of the technology and are utilizing the tools at our disposal to make sure we're moving the industry in the right direction.
what advice would you give some like up and coming restorers into the industry about finding balance? This industry breeds burnout, right? People get really burned out. It's a 24/7 business, especially if you're going to respond to a cat or whatever that may be, or if something big hits your local area. It's just go, 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 go. So what kind of techniques have you found over the years to help make sure that you're finding a balance, and that also your team is finding a balance, and your leadership, everybody in your team, because so people don't burn out?
Michelle, it's difficult because I'm an old school kind of guy, and I watch my parents and my grandparents, work 60 and 80 and 100 hours a week, and that was just 6 days a week, and that was just the way it was in our industry. We have to work 7 days a week. Somebody has to work 7 days a week, and we're in a service industry where we have to respond timely. So it's not easy with today's society. It can be frustrating. I don't want people to have to work crazy hours. I love, there's the argument of work-life balance, and I don't necessarily believe there is a balance there. I think it's different for everybody, but I think having your priorities in the right place, making sure that you're taking care of the things that you need to take care of, setting clear KPIs and goals to make sure those are taken care of, and then not allowing society to dictate, how much or how little, somebody is working. And it's different. Our industry is different from other industries, and, vice versa. So, making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to service not only the customers, the people, the homeowners that we're doing the work for, but also the TPAs and the carriers, making sure that, we're able to respond in a timely manner and put the right people on the jobs to get those turned around as quick as we can. Because I tell the team all the time, it does nobody any good for that job to go, any longer than it needs to. So the quicker we can get on the job, the quicker we can do the job and get out of the homeowners, hair, the better off everybody that's involved is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Phil, you have a
Very
question?
good.
Loaded, or I'll ask you.
Well, I just I was first of all wondering if maybe there was in those lines, if there was something you would advise if you're going to go back 25 years. I mean, certainly that's a big milestone, and I'm proud of you for that. But if you go back and say, okay, the younger Ben Lupin, here's something that you should have figured out earlier, or something maybe you should do differently, or something else that just kind of that big lesson that maybe took you too long to learn.
Credit. I'll give credit where credit's due, and Phil, I'll give you a lot of credit. Behind you are a lot of great books, and I've got a couple of bookshelves behind me here, and a couple more over here, and things that I've read and collected over the years. And I've got big bookshelves at home that I'm I'm filling up now. My wife wants to know what we're doing with all these books, but if I had it to do over again, I would have started reading more and sooner. Turn the TV off and all the distractions. Fortunately, I don't have a lot of social media distractions, and so I've gotten back, and I remind myself consistently how important it is to get back. We have in our company, we have what we call the Better Book Club. It's an organization where we pay team members to read. And so they read books, and they get Amazon gift cards for it. And, we're able to guide them in the books that, are beneficial to our organization, as well as other stuff that they would want to read. But reading, I think, not all leaders are readers. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders. So maybe I hopefully got that.
Easy for you to say, right?
Yeah,
that's right. I think there's I don't have many regrets, but there's several things that I wish I would have acted quicker on, and pull the trigger on, taking the chance maybe a little sooner. And, some of my team would tell you that's hard to believe, because I act pretty fast and move pretty fast. But there's a couple things out there that I wish I would have listened to my gut and, acted a little bit quicker. And then, I think it's just critical to be, true to yourself and, to the others. And then this industry that's been so beneficial for my family, myself, and everybody in our organization, just being true to the industry and doing the thing. It's easy to talk about all the negative things, but when we really sit down and talk about how, the positive things and all we have to be grateful for in this industry, and the relationships, and y'all too, along with many others over the years. I was just out in Montana with one of my best friends in the industry for his daughter's wedding. And so it was just a special time, somebody that I've known for 20 plus years in the industry. And thanks to Phil Rosebrook. I think Phil may have been the one that connected us way back when. And so
good chance of it.
Those kind of relationships that I'm really, really grateful for and appreciate that, we've been able to build on. So those are some things that if I had to do it all over again, some people ask me what keeps me up at night, and I tell people I sleep really well. So I try to do the right thing for everybody, and because I like sleeping really well, and I don't need things keeping me up at night.
There you go.
Amen to that.
Do you have a favorite current read? Do you have a book that you're into right now? You're like, oh man, that's really good.
This time of year, we always, almost every year, go back and read Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect. It's a super read.
So it's over here somewhere.
It's a super read at the end of the year to go back. And then our emerging leaders class, we have an emerging leaders class in our organization. They just finished Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. So again, planning for the new year and things that are coming up. It's just, it's all reminders, no rocket science. It's just all great reminders of ways that, we can make some positive changes and to achieve the goals that we're wanting to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nice.
I'm going to ask the fun question.
Let's do it.
Question.
Yes, please do. I was waiting for this.
I know. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. Okay. So we ask everyone who is on the podcast to share a memorable restoration story from a job. We have had a lot of great and funny stories over the years, practically been in tears, some more serious. So a memorable story from your career with SRG to date.
There's so many that I could share, but the one that's on the top of my mind right now is actually one that we're currently working on, that we're about to finish up. And we had a freeze in the Southeast United States here at Christmas time last year. So we had a really deep freeze, and on Christmas Eve, the pipes started thawing out, and there was a fire suppression line that actually popped off on the third story of the First Baptist Church here in our local hometown, ran from midnight till after 6 a.m., pouring water into that facility. And fortunately, that was a building that I had been a part of. That was the church that I was a part of and a member of for many years. I was baptized in that church. Our kids were raised in that church. I had the opportunity to serve on the building and the finance committee in that church. So it was near and dear to me. And then I got the call that morning, what had happened, from a fellow deacon friend of mine, and asked us to come help them out. And so we had the opportunity to go and do just that. So it was exciting to go and, be able to serve. And it just happens to be the largest project in our history. So really grateful for the opportunity, that we have had to serve the community and to serve this church in doing so. So I look forward to completing it. We're getting really, really close, and that the church is getting ready to be able to move back in there. And, it's been, 15, 17 years since that building was built. And so they're getting a whole refresh. And so it looks
nice,
looks phenomenal. And they got to pick out new, flooring and paint colors and all the things to really refresh this, building. And so I'm excited for the community and the congregation to be able to go in and enjoy that new facility. And our team, it's been a great project for our team. So really grateful for it.
That's great to think about how many lives you touched with that one job. And I think it's maybe something, look, it's, in the business that we're in, we're helping people, we're serving people and touching lives. We're not building buildings. We're doing so much more than that. And so that's cool. That's a really great story.
I wanted to ask one more question before we wrap it up, because you mentioned leading with your gut a little bit before, and then you've talked a lot about your faith. And for me, I equate my gut often with God speaking to me, and what feels like peace, what feels like that's not peace, that feels wrong. I'm curious kind of how you led with your gut and really helped discern as a leader what are those God-given moments where you know that this is the right step for the business, maybe the not right step. I'm just a little curious on your faith in that area.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years not listening to the Holy Spirit when I should have, but fortunately, in my adult years, I've learned my lessons, and I don't even hesitate. So when the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit speaks, whether it be personally or professionally or where it is, I don't have any problem, sharing what I'm hearing and what we should be doing. I always say, we'll never go wrong by doing the right thing. So, it's cost us money, at certain times. We had another loss at one of our locations up in Tennessee, and there was something that we could have easily swept the rug over and walked away from, and likely nobody would have ever known that it was even there, or that we had anything to do with it. And we called ourselves out on it. It cost us probably $60,000 or $70,000 to clean it up and to fix it and to make it right. That was completely, put us in the negative in that project, but it was the right thing to do, and I believe it'll pay dividends. But again, I sleep well at night knowing that. And the great news about that story is I had nothing to do with it. My team made that call because of the culture and what we've been able to build. I didn't even have. I found out about it later on when I was looking at the P&L and started seeing some things coming in. So I realized that something wasn't. And then I heard the rest of the story, and it was a proud papa moment, because I didn't have anything to do with that decision, but the team made the right decision and the right call to do the right thing at the right time. So I was very grateful that that's the kind of culture and the people we have in the organization that could have easily, like I said, just swept that under the rug and put the money in our pockets or their pockets. And we don't want to become that. And so that really is near and dear to me, those type of stories. And that's just one of many, that we have the opportunity to share.
I love that. Perfect. Great way to end it out. Phil, you want to
Yes.
close this out?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Ben. What a great conversation, and it's clear why you have developed such a great reputation in the industry, and you developed such a great company and a great team. And we're so pleased to have this conversation with you in this time. So, wishing you the best of luck as you roll in through the rest of the year in your strategic planning and your future with Southeast Restoration Group. And thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you guys for having me on.